Welcome to the June 2026 user group meeting. We appreciate your attendance today. Our agenda looks as you're just viewing a minute ago without hearing me talk, but I'll go over it again. We're going to have just go over some introductions with our board members. We'll have a quick summit update. We'll go through some upcoming events. We're going to spend about 5 minutes. This is kind of a little bit different than the last couple calls. Have 5 minutes where we'll open up for any community questions or updates from you guys. That way, if you're not able to stay for the entire meeting and you do have some questions or comments, you can go ahead and address those during that time. After that, we're going to go into our educational sessions. We have the year-end extravaganza, best tips for success for a successful BC year-end with Shannon Mullins. And then we're going to have Claude Rustom go over AI agents in Business Central. And then we're going to end the meeting with our roundtable and Q&A. So the introductions, here's our 2026 board members. If you guys have been on the last several calls, same faces. These are all the members who give their time to make the BC user group so successful in the Dynamics communities. All right, and I'm going to pass it over to Michael to go over Summit.
Thank you so much, Angela. So good morning and good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Michael Konstas. I work for Dynamic Communities, and I work extremely closely with all the programming committee members, as well as the board of advisors of Business Central, and for making sure that we make Community Summit as successful as possible, and the best educational experience, and not just educational, an overall experience when you guys actually when for those that actually spending the time and money to make sure that they attend it. So as you know, Nashville is Nashville, the Community Summit is scheduled for middle of October this year. We're just about 4 months out of it, a little bit less than 4 months out. We're tracking our registrations, and the event summitandate.com. You can get all the information that you actually need to find out there. So far, we've about 2,100 people register, so that's slightly over than last year. BC continues to be very strong and is still the number 1 product ERP that that is expected at Summit. As a result of that, as you can imagine, there's definitely emphasis on the Business Central side, and making sure that we have the best possible experience. There's about 690 attendees that have it as primary. So then you might some of the attendees that are coming for other things. They're not coming just for Business Central. They may come in for learning more about Copilot or Power Platform or M365. About 500 users so far, which is a very solid representation. We expected to get it somewhere to the 1,100-1,200 users for Business Central. So we expect to have a very, very solid representation. At Expo Hall, which you can find out where different partners and ISVs they presented their solutions. It's almost 200,000 square feet. And we have about 250 of them, confirmed so far. There's about, and all the major ones are covered in a sense of like all activations are being fully utilized. There's opportunities there, for pickleball, axe throwing. I mean, you just name it. There is a heavy education component. Sponsors are presenting their products, but there's also a fun component attached to it. It will be open from Monday afternoon, from the Monday evening from the opening reception to Tuesday and Wednesday. The agenda for Summit has been released. It doesn't have dates and times yet, but that's expected to be populated by sometime next month. The education, the registrants can actually attend 14 different sessions. That starts on Monday morning, dedicated, and that's education sessions. That does not include the keynote session. That does not include the product roadmap session that will be, for Business Central. That is primarily, from Microsoft supported. But there's another 14 sessions that you can choose between Monday morning and all the way to like Thursday afternoon. Donna Sarkar is our keynote. We do expect to have several also roundtables this time. We did a couple of them last year, but we will try to expand a little more on that. People find it very useful. And this roundtable environment, it includes like, 14, 15 end users, and there's definitely like 1 or 2 partners. There's participation for Microsoft, as well as, if it's an industry specific, some kind of an industry expert. So we're going to do that is by invitation, but, we try to make as many as we can. There's a separate manufacturing day, so BC Central will definitely have an opportunity there. For those that they have not been to Summit before, manufacturing is by far the industry that is, it's the largest one. It's close to like 45% of our total attendees are related with an industry. So to that extent, there's there's specific like several hours that are just like focused on that. If you are an RSM client, there is an opportunity for you. RSM is holding an event within the event, and it's inviting their own customers on that Wednesday, afternoon. So if you are an RSM customer, you should have got an invitation for the RSM Frontier Day. If you have not declared that you are an RSM client, then I might not know, so you might not be able to get that. But as soon as you guys tell us, then we can definitely, send you that invitation. From a closing parting ceremony, Wednesday it is at Grand Ole Opry. We start getting a little bit more clientele now that we're going. Diamond Rio is the one that provides, that will do the concert. The show floor will close about 5 o'clock. There will pre-concert drinks starting at 6 o'clock outside the Grand Ole Opry. There's a concert at 7 o'clock. It will finish about 8 o'clock. There is a big area outside the Grand Ole Opry, which several sponsors will have their own representation. And we already booking another concert outside from a local band. Probably, it's not going to be like Diamond Rio, which is more like country music. It's probably going to be like 90s music, and it's going to be party staying there like just about like 10:30 in the evening. So there's definitely other experiences that are happening during Summit. We're working for a potential partner party on Sunday night, as Shannon mentioned. The third annual the BC Bash party will be also on Tuesday night. And thank you, Shannon. We're working actually on procuring exactly that. So that's the beauty about Nashville. There's just an abundance of music artists and local bands, and it's literally everywhere. And those that have the opportunity, I did not know Nashville. I visited like first time last year, but going downtown also and spending the night, oh my God! I mean, you don't even know where to stop. So it's a great location to not just get the maximum you can out of something from an education perspective, but also have some fun too, after hours. If we can go to the next page, Angela. Very quickly, just to mention, also I had that last time too. There is academic workshops that are happening practically Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some of them are 3 days, some other 2 days, some other 1 days. 1 day with the vast majority, all the 1 days are actually on a Sunday one. So it's the day before Summit, so plan accordingly. This is obviously it's extra expense. However, if you want to go deeper down in a specific course in an area, this is the opportunity to actually do that. On an annual basis, every summit we have about 350 to 400 people doing, adding up academic workshops because they found it, very beneficial. Plus, it's like, we get the benefit of getting, the best speakers practically. Which you'll have an opportunity to meet with so many MVPs and so many like power users at Summit that it's great if you can it's great to be able to create relationships that can last for a lifetime actually after that and can help you in your day-to-day issues, right? That you have a business life. We do have 3 pre-conference on Sunday if there's something relevant for everybody. Obviously, as you can imagine, Copilot Studio. If somebody is interested in that, can register for that. It's a pretty powerful boot camp. It's done by Microsoft across their all events. It's run by Dwayne Robinson, which is the principal solution architect for the Copilot acceleration team. So and he has consistently very, very good reviews. He just did we just did a Charlotte 1-day training with him, and he had almost like 50 users there. So so it was a great success, and we get very good feedback. For those that are already on their agentic journey and they have advanced, there is a governance and access control. I'm going to say that's probably the number one issue now people are facing, that said, okay, I can utilize Copilot, but what exactly am I feeding? Where is that information going? How do I manage that and all that? And then the last one is like the GP options, which is effectively a majority will be GP for BC. It's not necessarily for this crowd, but those that they want to, they're looking at for their journey to see, hey, what are the different options? After that, it's also an opportunity to make sure that if somebody's transitioning out of GP, then they definitely have a solution available to still stay within the Microsoft ecosystem. So thank you so much. I do want to, I want to mention also an extra, shout out, to Andrew, as well as, Andrew, Leanne, and Elizabeth from the programming committee, because they work very tirelessly, and there's a lot of, follow-ups specifically in the last 2 months, as the rest of the subcommittees, programming subcommittees were working to make sure they identified the best possible agenda. But specifically these three, they work very closely with us. There's so many, there's so many back and forth, and it's a guarantee, having all these eyes and all that expertise, you actually guaranteeing the best possible outcome for our education opportunities. There's more than 100+ sessions at Summit. We have not announced the Microsoft sessions yet, but that will be also that will be also announced soon enough, and that will pollinate, with the Microsoft expertise. So this can be happen first and foremost. It is an education and training experience. You want to make sure you get the maximum out of it. And the BC committee, the programming committee, they've done a phenomenal job working with us. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing there. So thank you so much, Angela.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Michael, I can't see the participants. Is Pam on to talk about learners, or did you guys want us to just go?
No, I thought it was just for because it was last time, so I don't know if it was so it wasn't for mine. So you can skip this if it doesn't. Yeah,
okay.
I think yeah. So, on the next video.
All right, we do have some learners events coming up. Road shows, number one. In fact, there's a couple next week. If you're in the Pittsburgh or Cleveland areas, or if you want to travel to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, definitely worth the day to go and check those out. And then our next few upcoming national user group meetings coming up. There's the agenda for those and the dates, pretty much same time as this one starts. But you can find all these events along with the ones that Blaine's going to talk about here in a second on your learners website. And I'm assuming because you've joined this call today, you're on Learner's website. Thank you. If you're viewing this recording after the fact, make sure that you have gone to Learners and you have registered yourself, and you've also added yourself to a region. If you don't add yourself to a region, you're not going to get notified of the content. But then you can start joining these and getting notifications for all the upcoming events. And to say that, I'm going to turn it over to Blaine so he can talk about the upcoming webinars.
All right. So yeah, and you kind of glossed over our amazing Angela, who's going to be giving Fire Up Your Grill a sizzling hot tips coming up in the next user group meeting. So I had to plug that one, no doubt.
Thanks.
Of course, Kim looks like Kim Congleton's joining you too. So definitely join in next month as well, so everybody. So, but yeah, webinars coming up. Unfortunately, some of you may have tried to join the one we had scheduled last week. Unfortunately, a speaker had an emergency they had to attend to, and we had to cancel it for now. So we'll look at the appropriate time if we can reschedule that. But in the near future, we have in July with Telka Clem, Bean Counting 101. And then in August, we just got this ironed out as far as date and time with Chris Royeris, get the most out of Business Central with Power Platform and Copilot. I think I actually tweaked the name there slightly just to really focus on the AI side of things with that. So if you're looking for some good AI tips, That'll be included in the August one. And then we're working out the exact date in September for that one you see there. And always looking for speakers. So feel free, if you want to share a topic, touch base with me. My LinkedIn QR code's down there at the bottom. Or find me through Learners or any other LinkedIn or whatever. There's only one Blaine Pennypacker on LinkedIn that I'm aware of, so pretty easy. So anyway, so yeah, and then also, you know, we always would love to see you live in the webinars, but be aware that they are recorded, so you can go back into and look for the prior events and find the recordings after the fact if you happen to miss a topic that you like. So that's it, Angela. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. And before we get started with Shannon here, if you want to take yourself off of mute, if you do have any questions or comments that you want to make, we'll just kind of open it up for the next few minutes. Anyone? Don't be shy. All right, well, stick around to the end. If you do have any questions or comments, then you can just take yourself off of mute there. Also, if you want to just throw stuff in the chat, I'm not able to see the chat now, but once Shannon starts presenting, we will. I don't know if anything's in there now to address, but if you do have questions or comments, you can throw them in there.
Hey, Angela, I'm not seeing a place where I can share my screen.
Yeah, I have to stop sharing first. So
okay, yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to Shannon.
Thank you, Angela.
All right,
okay,
Shannon,
it's available.
See it popped up now.
Yeah, can you hear me correctly, or hopefully you can hear me? Awesome. All right, give me just a second to share my screen. And how many times have we heard that? Okay, can you all see my screen now? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. Yes. Perfect. So welcome everybody to this best tips for a successful BC year end. I know we are only in the month of June. I just had to double check my calendar. I've been in Europe for a month and I'm not really sure what day of the week it is. But we are only in June. But year end is something that I always talk to new BC customers about, that this is something that should be on your mind throughout the year as you start to prepare checklists, not only for month end, but also for year end and what you should be doing. I know a lot of the things we're going to talk about today are recommendations that I also recommend for month end and having a month end checklist and plan. But we're going to talk about helpful tips and tricks to start to get ready for year end, great tips to take back to your office and start to delegate who's going to be responsible for what at year end and kind of prepare yourself. I always tell people when we're talking about year end, I usually don't do year end training with new customers until we do year end together, because sometimes it can be something that you just forget because you just don't do it all the time. But I do have a blog post out there for year end closing. If you look up my name in the blog post, that has like step-by-step instructions to some of the stuff we'll talk about today. So that should be helpful. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder of ABC Consulting Group. We are the premier sponsor of the BC Bash, which is happening at Summit NA. This is my 10th year of being with Summit NA. Many of you may have known me from the GP community. I started as a GPUG presenter. I moved to Business Central a little over 8 years ago, and have been doing just primarily Business Central Cloud since. I'm on a whole bunch of programming committees, conference committees. I speak all over the world on Business Central, and very excited to be here talking with you today about your end. All right, so what are we going to cover today? It seems basic, but these are things that we usually have to discuss with our customers a lot on a regular basis, is preparing for that year-end close. So we're going to talk about pre-close prep, how to get reconciled, validated, making sure you're ready to go when the time comes for year-end closing. I know many of you are on fiscal calendar, so year-end close comes at that really convenient time of New Year's. Really, really fun to be working on both of these together if you're on a year-end, full year accounting system. We're going to talk about income statement close, how we do that, how we close out our retained earnings and balance sheet. We'll talk about inventory valuation, how to reconcile inventory. Not everyone has inventory, but those of you who do, very important that inventory ties at year end. We'll talk about reporting and audit readiness. So knowing which reports to run, where to find those reports, closing your accounting periods. This is huge. I actually had a customer put in a support case last week because people were making adjustments into 25. They never closed out their accounting periods. So seems trivial, is very, very important when we're looking at financial reporting. We'll talk about AR and AP year end, fixed assets and fixed asset year end, and then just some specific best practices overall for BC Cloud. And for those of you who are on-prem, a lot of this will be very similar, but maybe some different functionality in the cloud. So pre-close checklist. I always recommend in starting weeks early. Like I said, year end for many of you is going to be around the holidays. So these are things that in December, when things are kind of a little bit more quiet with accounting, we can start to look at them and start to do some pre-reconciliation. When I was a controller, I used to start to look at my suspense and clearing accounts. I'd start to look at my accruals, my prepaids, especially things that hadn't happened yet, everything that's happened from January to December, and start really reconciling those and looking at them ahead of time, because I knew when audit came, I was going to have to provide the detail for those balances. So I think starting early is huge. Reconciling your bank accounts. This seems so trivial, but I have so many customers that are not reconciling in a timely manner. This is huge. Like, how are you going to reconcile AP or inventory or AR or any of these accounts, honestly, without cash? So cash is your most critical reconciliation. Absolutely needs to be done on a regular basis. You can do that inside BC. You can do that outside BC. I recommend inside BC because it's super easy. We now have a co-pilot for bank reconciliation. So if you haven't tried to reconcile in BC, you could check out the co-pilot for bank reconciliation. We have a lot of customers using tools like Yavrio or Nolan to do those automated bank recs, but your bank rec, your most critical piece. So make sure your bank recs are up to date in December, so that you're only looking at closing December to get to that year-end balance. Reviewing open purchase and sales orders. This is also something that I see companies struggle with. They're not going in and cleaning up these open purchase orders and open sales orders. I went into one customer's environment the other day. They had a support ticket open, and I was just seeing a ton of open POs. And I was like, oh goodness, like they need to run some tools to kind of close out these purchase orders, to close out balances on sales orders. BC, if you're short a little bit on either your purchase order or your sales orders, or if there's changes, or maybe somebody created them and they never deleted them, this is a really good time at year end to go in and clean that up and make sure it's all correct. Suspense and clearing accounts. Obviously, as an accountant, I'm not a huge fan of suspense and clearing accounts, but sometimes we need them. When we used to work with QuickBooks customers, it used to be Ask My Accountant. That was what we called that account. But it's essentially the account where somebody needs to do something with it because we don't know where it goes. Now is a good time at the end of the year to start looking at that account. What are those transactions? You can run general ledger entries, look for those accounts, and drill into those transactions and say, okay, where are we going to put these? How are we going to reclass these? Running your customer and vendor aging reports. Obviously, this should be done on a monthly basis. Highly recommend this on a monthly basis. But if you haven't ran it in a while, or if you run it and it's taking an incredibly long time, you probably have a lot of unapplied documents sitting out there for your customer and vendor ledger entries. One tip and trick I like to do, I'll show you that now for this one as I'm showing tips and tricks, is to use the lists inside of BC for this. Hopefully everybody can see Business Central, and I can't see you if there's any problems, but I'll move that over so I can see it. So one thing I like to do in Business Central is to use the lists, right? And we have several different windows that are very helpful in BC, but I like vendor ledger entries. Let's take that for example. This list is very, very common for AP groups. But one thing that you can do with this, because the AR and AP aging reports are okay, but we can't drill into anything there, right? So if we see a bunch of unapplied payments or unapplied credit memos, we have no idea what's out there that needs to be applied to. It's just harder to see it. So if you're in a list, you do have the filtering capabilities. And I always say, come in here, and we want to look at documents where the remaining amount, you can add this filter, is less than or greater than 0. And what that essentially does is it's looking for all open invoices or all open payments. Luckily for me, we don't have any open payments, which is a good thing. But a lot of times when I'm looking at customer balances, we're seeing a ton of maybe prepayments or payments that were made that no longer got applied, or maybe credit memos that were issued that somebody forgot to apply when they were issuing the credit memo. So common. So this list here is essentially your AP aging. So if you want to, you can actually save this list and give it a name, and we'll call it, outstanding AP is usually what I call it. But this is now our list with all these invoices. And you'll say, okay, well, what do I do with this list? In traditional accountant fashion, we like to come here and open it in Excel. But if we wanted to, we now have this analysis mode, thanks to Kenny at Microsoft, where we can come out and we can say, okay, I want to see this, but I also want to group by my vendor name. You could group by vendor number if you want to, but I can grab that and do a row group. And now I can see, okay, here's the balance for Miller, here's the balance for Nod, worldwide, all of that, and I can actually group it. And then if I want to, I can group by account type and see like how many open payments, how many open credit memos. We can do things like that by grouping our document type. And if we still love Excel, no worries, because now we have the grouping. We can actually come in here and export and open in Excel by right-clicking anywhere in this grid. So now I get this list. It's going to be down here in Excel. And one thing I like about this Excel version is typically we do row groupings when we send it to Excel, right? Or we're going to do filters or pivot tables, whatever we decide to do. This actually comes out with the grouping. So we could come in here and see the same view at analysis view, but when we send it back out, it's very detailed. So this is a really great way for you to start running those open AP, open AR, looking at the details. And the benefit of doing it in vendor ledger entries, customer ledger entries, is now we can go in and we can apply them as we see them, unapplied. So this is a really great thing to do. If you have very slow customer and vendor aging reports, it's probably because you have a lot of these documents that just are old or not applied, and then we need to go in and do something with them. Next step, all our reoccurring journals. So we should be doing this monthly, right? We should be doing our accruals, our prepayments, depreciation, prepaids, whatever you want to call it. We have these reoccurring journals. Some of our customers do as a standard journal. Some use the reoccurring journal entry window. Wherever those are happening, we need to make sure those are, 1, posted for each month. And then 2, year end is a really good time to start looking at, was our accruals accurate, right? So if we look at our accruals and we're like, okay, this is not accurate, and we want to say, all right, we need to adjust this, we can do those adjustments in December. So, we accrued for a 401k, we're not paying a 401k, we had a bad year. This is when we can start to do those adjustments in December early and start to get ready for year end. Verifying GL account balances. We would hope, absolutely hope at the end of the year that our AP matches our AP, our AR matches our AR, our inventory matches our AR. However, I'm very shocked by sometimes the fact that nobody ever looks at this throughout the year. And then they go to run inventory valuation or they go to run cash and they realize, oh no, our bank balance doesn't match our checkbook balance, our reconciled balance. And so now we have a discrepancy. One little tip, when you're doing bank rec in BC, you can post if the difference equals 0, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the reconciled bank balance equals your reconciled GL balance. And GP, it actually did a check on this, so we couldn't post it, but in BC, you can actually post it and your balances be off. So how do we control this so we don't have to worry about it? Because if you ever have had to clean this up, which I've done lots of cleanup projects for customers, it's not fun. And then when you get to that point where you're like, okay, it's clean, we know it matches, you want to go into those GL accounts that are subledger. So all your cash accounts, accounts receivable, accounts payable, inventory, all of those accounts that are subledger accounts, and you want to turn off direct posting because that's typically where we're seeing problems. Somebody saw that there was a difference in inventory, and instead of doing an item adjustment, they went in and they did a journal entry. And then later on, the inventory adjusted. And then now those two balances are two different running balances. So December is a good time to start looking at those and seeing if they match. And if everything's done correctly, they should always match. And if not, like I said, journal entries, general ledger entries is a good place to go and start looking at where those differences are. Communicating the cutoff date. This is one of my favorite topics. We get so many support cases in January, especially where everyone's trying to post and they get that dreaded error message. You cannot post because the period is closed. And they're going, wait, what does this message mean? Means the period is closed. But their accounting team went and closed the period and they did not tell any users about when the last date that they can close is. So coming up with a year-end plan is also letting your accounting teams know, especially if you're bigger. You have an accounts payable team, you have an accounts receivable team, you have an inventory team. Okay, AP needs to be closed by this date, AR needs to be closed by this date, inventory needs to be closed by this date. Put those dates in place. And then let everyone know if you get that message that says, hey, you can't post, it's typically because we closed posting. So now we have to go into January and post. So you need to figure out what that policy is going to be. Every organization is different, but it is important to communicate that, especially to save yourself on support hours. Closing accounting periods. So I always tell people towards, the end of the year, fallish time, you need to go in and start opening up accounting periods if you're doing deferrals or deferred revenue into the new periods. But also you may want to open the next accounting period early, especially if you're going to have some, January transactions that are coming in January that you need to book. But the first thing you want to do is go into your accounting periods and actually open up the period. So make sure, number one, that you have a fiscal year. Interesting enough in BC, and I find this truly fascinating, you can actually be running the accounting system without accounting periods. So this is something that typically partners or super users help set up. But accounting periods need to be open in order to close a year. So they don't need to be open to post, but they do need to be open to close the year. So you can go into accounting periods, you can find those accounting periods, create your new year if it's not available yet, and then get ready to lock those periods. One thing that's cool, I don't have this on the slides, but it's something to look up. In 28, we now have the capability to do date formulas for allow from and allow to, where we can say the first of the month plus 10 days, or the first of the month plus 5 days, or whatever that lockout's going to be. And it will actually go in and set those allow from and allow to posting dates. This is a new feature in 28. If you're not comfortable with that, or you still want to make sure as the controller, CFO, staff accountant, whoever's in charge, that these are truly accurate, you can manually set those. But this is so important because if those dates don't get closed, we're going to have a major dilemma on our hands. And I see a lot of customers just forget this step. I always say this is like one of the most important steps that we can do with BC is to set those allow from and allow to. So I'll just show you a couple windows here with the dates that are pretty important. Accounting periods, this is the one I was just mentioning. This is where we can come in and we can see our open years. We can see future open years and see what's available. Of course, if you're doing deferrals, you have to have, future years open. But this is also where we can create and close our years and our inventory periods. So we have all of that available in this one window. And when we go to year-end close, which we'll talk about in a minute, this is where we're going to go in and start that process. But second of all is general ledger setup. So again, this is where we're kind of setting those system-wide dates of what's open and what's closed. I call these the posting gates. And this is something I've actually seen on rescue customers we've taken over is I come in here and both of these dates are blank. And I'm like, we have a big problem. Because what this essentially is like the gates are open for all open periods. So as long as the accounting period is open, game on, right? We can go and post anywhere. So this date, this allow from date, this is going to be, if we're closing the month of May, we're going to come in and say, okay, from June 1st until maybe you want to allow 2 months of posting, 1 month of posting, you decide from, June 1st until 7/31, we're going to close that. Now, when you're bringing in your beginning balances, right, because that's something we do as partners, we bring in beginning historical balances, beginning open AP balances. We usually don't turn these dates on, but the second we go to production and we're like, okay, we're live, this is where we come in and say nobody can post anything going before this date and no one can post anything after this date. So I call these the main control gates for Business Central. And these are the gates where if you're getting those posting date is closed, that's what you need to come in and change. There is one interesting scenario though. We have this all the time where controllers are like, hey, I'm okay with us closing this for everybody, but these two people who still need to go back into May and do adjustments, can we just allow these two people to go in and then we prevent everybody else? And the answer is yes. So there is a possibility to do this. We're going to go into the user setup window. And in our user setup window, we can actually give specific posting dates per user. So I could come in and say, okay, Shannon can post from 4/1 until whenever. Again, I don't recommend these being free flowing dates. So I would say I can also post to July, but I can post all the way back to April if I need to. So even if you're doing beginning balances, this is helpful. Maybe you have one person working on beginning balances with you. They need to go in and post prior periods, but you don't want anyone else in the system posting into the closed periods. This is how you would restrict it. And you can do the same for deferrals. And then here's these dates, these date formulas that I was telling you. You can actually do date formulas now in Business Central for posting to and posting from. But this is one window that I always tell customers, if you're going to use this, please, please, please remember to go in and change the dates here. We actually had a case where someone got fired at a customer because of this window. It's a long story, but essentially they were allowing InsightWorks and their barcode scanners to go back into previous periods, but they were not allowing any other user. So they forgot to change the dates in here, and a user was getting a posting issue. And so the IT user actually went in and logged in as the barcode scanner because they could post in that prior period and posted it because this window was open, and then logged back out and then logged back in, and then the transaction was gone. And they realized they're a publicly traded company. They realized the financials changed, and it was because somebody forgot to change the setting, and that one person had access to log into that account. Kind of an accounting nightmare. So this is something huge to take. If you're going to use it, you have to remember to come in and change it. Like there's no system setting that tells you, hey, this user can post backwards. So just keep that in mind. I always find that a helpful window, but also a very scary window when you're looking at, compliance with accounting periods. Closing the year end, we'll talk about this more in just a second, but you can do that from the accounting periods page. It's a two-step process in BC. Something that's helpful to know, and this was something I had to learn with BC because in GP it was impossible. Even though you close the fiscal year in the accounting periods, you can close the income statement multiple times. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. We'll talk about closing the income statement in a minute. But if you need to close the year, you're going to go ahead and roll the balances forward with closed income statement. And this is like a concern for a lot of customers. They want their balance sheet balances to roll forward, and they want to close out P&L, right? So their accounting is good in January. You could close the year, later come in and make your adjustments as long as the fiscal periods are open in GL setup, and then run year-end close again to move those balances to retain earnings. So it's a two-step process, which makes it actually really helpful. But it is good to know that if you mess up, there's a way to kind of fix it, right? Closing the income statement. So closing the year is not the same as closing the income statement. We typically run this once a year. Like I said, we can run it multiple times. Obviously not recommended. So you can either wait until auditors are done, you can close it and then do your audit later. But this is where we can come in and close those income statement balances. So first step is closing the periods and the accounting periods. Obviously, lock those down. And then the second piece is going to be to come in here and run that year-end close. Like I mentioned, I have a blog out there on this because I thought it was like really easy to come in and just have a blog with step-by-step. But this is the window that you'll never remember to run until the next year. It's like once a year we do this usually, and it's really easy to forget, but it's super easy. So what is your year-end period date? It's looking at the last date, like the first date that's open in those accounting periods that hasn't been closed. So it typically sets here. You choose your general journal type, which is usually general. I really wish they would actually kind of get rid of this, but it's here. And then here you create a batch. So I usually recommend, if I would do one like 2025 year end, I always like one that makes sense so that everybody knows what that batch is and they can delete it later. Because if you didn't know, BC doesn't delete batches after they've been used. And then in here, you're going to give it a document number. You can change that if you want to. And then you pick that retained earnings account. And oh, we don't have retained earnings in this lovely Microsoft balance sheet. Don't get me started on that. We'll just pick an account here. And then in here, we can put a posting description. So if I want that to say something like 2025 year, 2025 closed income statement, I can. Something that's good to know, you can actually close out your dimensions as well. If you're using binary stream multi-entity management, it will close out by entity anyway. But if not, if you're using just BC, you can choose this dimension or multiple dimensions where you need to close out those balances as well. All right, so that's something that you can do. And then you just hit OK, and then BC goes to work, and it creates those journal entry lines for you, which is really nice. You don't have to do anything else. Kind of still your job to go out here and say, I don't have much activity, obviously, in this period. But in here, you can see that these posting dates, this is something also that the customers ask us a lot about. What about the posting dates, right? How am I going to know it's a year-end close versus a regular transaction? These posting dates will have a C in front of them for close. So that's helpful to know when you're posting these transactions, but you're going to come out here, you'll review everything, make sure, yep, that looks good, happy about it. And then we just post this batch. And oh, look, we got our error. Posting date is not within your range or posting date. So obviously we would go and fix that and post it. But that's how we will post these year-end close balances. So pretty easy to do. Like I mentioned, you mess up, oops, we have auditor adjustments or we found something, we can go back and fix it at the GL level. The subledger is kind of locked, right? So that's a problem. So that's why closing your subledger and reconciling that is so important to do before this step, right? But your general ledger, you can still make those adjustments as you need to. We already kind of talked about a few of these things, but this is kind of a little checklist for AR and payables. So running your aging reports, identify overdue balances. This is a really great time to see if there's any uncollected money you forgot about that you need to go get. Reconciling that subledger to the GL, hugely important. Make sure that matches before you send your AR subledger to your accountants or your auditors and they have lots of questions. You can write off your uncollectible balances using finance charge memos, or you can just do journals, but you do need to write off anything that is a write-off. Apply outstanding payments and credit memos before close. Send your statements to customers for year-end confirmation. This is actually a really good thing to do for both AP and AR. Send your customers like, hey, here's what we're showing for your balance, so that they're going, yep, on our side, we show that too. Or if not, they're contacting you. And then review and post any bad debt adjustments that you need to, if you have not just only write-offs, but also bad debt. On the AP side, same thing. We're going to run the aging reports. We're going to reconcile. On the AP side, if you are doing accruals for received not invoiced, that is really also important to look at all your open receipts and make sure you're actually going to be invoiced for them. Sometimes they fat finger things in the warehouse and they received things that were never going to be invoiced. So that's a good time to clean that up. Apply your credits and unapplied payments. Again, I also, if you're concerned about some of your AP balances, reach out to the vendors and say, hey, here's what we're showing. Is this what you're showing? Have them confirm that. Sometimes they'll even do that during audit. Your auditors will do that just to make sure all those balances match. And then review those open purchase orders before crossing into the fiscal year, go in with a clean slate. I'd have customers that issue hundreds and hundreds of POs. And so, it's a good time to go and clean it up or put a team together for cleanup, right? Doesn't mean this isn't necessarily an accounting job. Inventory year-end close. So this is another one. We need to go in and make sure all of our batches and our transactions are fully posted. So go into your receipts, your warehouse receipts, your warehouse shipments, your transfers, production orders, make sure everything that's related to the year that's finished is posted before closing. We also need to make sure we have no open item ledger entries. So go into those batches and make sure nothing is there, nothing hasn't been posted. because we could obviously have reconciliation issues if it wasn't. We also, if we don't have this automatically turned on, we need to run our adjust cost for item entries. And we should be doing this before our inventory to GL reconciliation. Most of our customers run Insight Works, so we actually have this running on a batch anyway. But this is important, making sure you're actually adjusting to actual item costs in the GL. So if you haven't done this or you don't know anything about it, good time to learn about it. Post your inventory costs to GL to sync the subledger with the general ledger. So make sure your expected versus actual cost variances are posted. And then reconcile that inventory to the GL. There's an inventory GL reconciliation report, so you can confirm your inventory value with your item ledger to your GL accounts. You can run that report. And then we want to make sure also, if we're using a physical count, to use the physical inventory journal to do that and post those count adjustments before we do any of these other steps. Insight Works also has advanced inventory account. It uses kind of the same logic, but no matter what you're doing, physical inventory account always recommended at year end. If you do more frequent inventory accounts, maybe you're not going to do a full physical, but make sure you do that for full physical before you close out the year. All right, fixed assets, also another hot topic. If you're using fixed assets in BC, I actually like this module, but it is important to do all of the little steps necessary for fixed assets. First, run your final depreciation. I always recommend doing that after you've done your disposals. So if you haven't done a fixed asset inventory in a long time, I always tell people when they're moving to BC Cloud, hey, go do a full fixed asset inventory and see if there's anything that we need to adjust or dispose before we bring it into BC. But sometimes people bring everything into BC. And so we have assets that are like computer desk purchased in 1998 and it's never been retired. It's sitting there, never been blocked. It's showing as an active asset. We probably want to just take a look at our fixed assets and clean that up. We also want to do any retirements or sales or disposables, any of that, using the fixed asset journals to clear those up. It is important also, after you run that final depreciation, to run your fixed asset register and verify everything looks good for the year. Reconciling fixed assets to the GL. So there's a fixed asset GL analysis report that you can run and just make sure everything looks good there. And then, of course, generating your fixed asset statement. So the book value 2 reports. If you didn't know this, and this was something I was waiting on Kenny to finish for a while, he's actually been working on some fixed asset reports in Excel. I'm not a huge fan of the fixed asset reports in BC, as you can tell by what I'm saying. But he actually has been working on some fixed asset reports in Excel. So if you actually just come in to tell me, now I'm on 28 probably in this version, but if you come in to tell me, you're going to see reports that say fixed asset details, fixed asset analysis, fixed asset projected value. We now have these 3 reports inside of BC as Excel reports, which is really nice. So I'll just open one of these, which is fixed asset analysis. So if it's an Excel-based report, what that means is we're actually not going to have that. Let's just do 2020. I have no idea what's in this Kronos company. We'll do 24 to end of 27. I think that'll help us. And then we can come and say, okay, include inactive in assets or don't. Budget reports, only sold assets. We have some filters here. And then we can come down and add filters for specific assets if we want to, or our classes or subclasses. But if we just want everything, we just hit download. Oh, maybe. I don't know what it's asking for on that one. Give me a second. I must have missed something on that one. Let's see. Depreciation book, company, yes. Ending, close date. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's just say financial assets. Oh, well, that might be buggy. We'll try another one here. And if anyone's ran this one and I'm missing something, feel free to put it in the chat because these are newer reports that I haven't ran often yet, but always fun when we have some filter restrictions in here. Let's try to download the details one. Okay, well, those typically work. I'll let Kenny know we have some bugs in there because they're not working. But those reports, we've tried them out before and they were working. So I don't know what's going on in 28, but I'm not going to say anything more about 28. But those are some reports that we do have when they're working to use us with that fixed asset analysis. And I haven't run them since I spoke in Asia about it, and they were running fine there. So we'll see what's wrong with them. All right, key reports to run at year end. This is not a full list. Maybe some of you have your own list that you like to run, but I just made a list of like reporting and audit ready reports that are good to look at. Trial balance, of course. Trial balance is always a key one. We want to run that trial balance report. There is an Excel version of the trial balance now as well. You can build a trial balance in financial reports. You can have your trial balance in another reporting tool, but run their trial balance, make sure everything balances, make sure everything looks good. GL detail trial balance, if you want the detail. I typically didn't run this one at year end because that would be a huge report, but that is one that you can run and keep a copy of if you'd like it. Run your financial statements, make sure they balance, right? BC now has some pretty robust financial statements. We're not going to get too much into all the changes in financial reports, but there's a lot of changes out there. Make sure all the reports inside of BC match and they reconcile. Our customer reconciliation reports, so we want to run that one. We want to run our vendor reconciliation. And of course, I already mentioned AP trial balance, AP aging, AR trial balance, AR aging. Inventory valuation, huge report in BC for your inventory, right? So make sure every value by item location, what that value is at your end. FA book value, I like the O2 report better than the regular report, but run that report, that printed report. And then if you want to, export your change log for an audit trail of any changes that have been made. If you don't know about change log in BC, essentially you can track major changes to the system, including security changes. And maybe that's something that you want to send to Excel or Power BI or something like that. So if your auditors have any questions, it tracks out of the box like security changes and extension installs and things like this, but maybe also you're tracking like who changed a vendor bank account or who made changes to inventory setup. These are all things that you can pull through that change log report. So that's a good thing. And then cloud specific reminders. This is probably very important, I think. When I did on-prem, we only upgraded in GP when those major releases happened, and it was a planned thing, and we were not really worried about it until we were going to pay for it. But BC is being scheduled and maintained almost monthly now, and whether or not those releases get rolled back or not is a whole different story. But if you're on BC Cloud, Microsoft is updating BC. So this is a good time also for your IT admins to go in and say, is BC up to date? When's the next major release? Let's look at that. But also all your apps. I didn't put this on the slide, but apps also have to be updated and they have to be updated manually. Like you have to go in and do your Continua updates and your InsightWorks updates and your iSolutions updates, all these third parties. And people forget to do this. So this is a really good time to go in and look at your update center and see where you're at for that as well. Permissions, also a good time to look at permissions and who can do year end and who can do close. It's, these are things that we just forget to do after we go live, but it's a good time to look at that, especially because your accountants are going to be asking for permissions, or your auditors, and a lot of times are going to be asking about your permission sets. So stuff that you can start looking at. In 28.2, and I just confirmed this with Kenny on a prior call, we do have some new audit reports. So if you go out to the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central LinkedIn page, that's a mouthful, they do have some posts about the new reports, but there are new reports about user access, user permission sets, good things to start looking at, because if you're publicly traded or you have to go through a financial audit, you know that those auditors are going to be asking you about permissions. This one, I'm not a huge fan of. Exported data backup. In the cloud, we can actually just, take a backup before we do year-end close to Sandbox. But if you mess up year-end close for some reason and the next day you realize it, with BC Cloud, you can go back a day to any point in time and redo it. But for your own safety, if you want to try year-end close in a Sandbox, I recommend copy production to Sandbox, do your year-end close there, make sure everything looks good, and then you just go do it in production. So yeah. So like I said, use your Sandbox for testing anything with year end. If you want to try something out new, that's why we have free Sandboxes. And then you can use GP job queues to schedule and monitor batch jobs. So if you want to do those adjust costs, post inventory cost, you can use job queues to do a lot of that work. Some of that's set automatically if you choose the settings and inventory setup, but that's something also good to know. And there is now, I think a business manager and a couple of the other role centers, there's now like a job queue failure queue on the homepage where you can see job queues that have failed and click on it and get to all those failures, which is really nice. There's also a way to set up a Power Automate flow to notify you if your job queues haven't been running, because if you are going to be running adjust cost and inventory cost posting and things like that on job queues, you want to make sure those job queues are actually running. And then also enable your changelog for sensitive tables. That user setup window might be one of those windows where you want to see who's changing the fiscal periods for certain users. BC is not tracking that out of the box, by the way. So that's one that I recommend. Changes to GL accounts, maybe people are changing and turning off direct posting. Posting groups, I always recommend changelog be turned on. Receivable setup, purchasing setup, inventory setup, like anything that's super major. This is a good time to turn on that change log for those tables. So start to look at your permissions. So that's pretty much it. I just have a few follow-up tips here. I'm not going to read every one of them, but kind of just the takeaways from this. If anyone has any questions or gets stuck, I know like I said, we're in June. We haven't even celebrated 4th of July yet in the States. So first, we got to get past 4th of July and some other holidays. But if you run into anything at your end, you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I have my Linktree code here if you want to follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I post on both, or X, whatever you want to call it now. But would love to hear from you guys if you have any questions. But I'll leave it open for questions there in the chat.
Great. Thank you so much, Shannon. That was wonderful. And coming from the accounting world, it is not too early to start these year-end preparations. Trust me.
Absolutely. Never too soon.
Never too soon. All right. Claude, you can take it away now.
Yeah, hello, hi. Can you hear me? I don't know because the internet is not too good here. I'm on the
We can hear you, Claude.
office. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Shannon. Like, it's not easy to take a session after Shannon. Like, I will try to be good enough. Okay. Can you see my screen? If you can help me a little bit. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see it and hear you.
Okay, perfect. My name is Claude Rustom. I'm a senior application consultant at Innovia Consulting. I'm also a Microsoft MCT. I'm doing implementation for multiple ERPs. I began my journey with GP, then NAV, then SAP, then back to BC and NAV. Since 2005, I have a bachelor's degree in management information systems and executive MBA. Today we are talking a little bit about agents in Business Central or Pilot. I will show you some examples. I will go into Business Central, try to build an agent with you. What types of AI probably we can have? Like, how do I reverse a process transaction? Like, you can ask AI this question. AI will be able to help you and guide you how to reserve a process transaction. Or you can ask AI, what is the quantity in hand vs available inventory? Like, AI will be able to help and read the data for you. Some questions related to how the system will work, or some reporting, or also some automation in the ERP. Some functionality are already available in Business Central. I think you saw a lot of things in Business Central, a lot of functionality in Business Central, and they are adding. Like, Microsoft are adding with every big release in April and October. New functionalities, like now we have the chat with Copilot, we have the autofill suggestion, record summary, bank reconciliation, sales line suggestions. If you go to your business center and you go to Copilot and agent capabilities, you can go and see all the functionalities available in business center related to Copilot. Like you can activate or you can deactivate any functionality you have. But also you can see a little bit here, we have a custom agent, and this is what we need to talk about. Okay. Also, you can see like sales order agent, payable agent. But if you see in the billing type, it's not built. That means it's included in your license. If you see Microsoft build, that means this is not free of charge. You will be built based on what you are doing using these agents. The most important also for Copilot is the feature using Bing search. This should be enabled to let Copilot connect to the internet and help and bring more accurate functionality available on the web. AI around business center, we have AI already built on it, and AI builder. It's already included in Power BI. We have forecasting. We have a lot of other functionality. AI is built now. We can see it everywhere in the Outlook, in the Excel, in the Teams, all the things that is related to Central, all the functions or the softwares related. Sorry, someone has a question?
Hey, Claude, I'm sorry. I think we're getting a lot of background chatter and your volume's a little low. Are you able to turn the volume up some?
Give me 1 second. Let me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for that. Let me. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's just a background chatter, I think.
I will try to change my place also at the same time.
Sorry.
Okay. No problem. Sorry, because I'm in the Microsoft office and a lot of people are functionality are available Business Central. Now we need a little bit about the agents and what the agent can do in Business Central. Now for the nose. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just a little low. I don't know if you can speak up some, or the background chatter seems to be better.
Yeah, for sure. Like what the agent can do in Business Central, or usually like it help minimize the repetitive task. Like the agent can do some decision making if needed, can optimize efficiency, utilization of resource, minimize the risk, improve compliance, and much more. Usually, if you have any idea about also what the agent will do, please let me know on the chat. Then we will discuss it later on when we can read the chat. The agent will not replace us. Like for sure, it will not replace a human. The agent will be helping the human to do better job and more accurate jobs in our life. Okay, then here we have some examples about what we can build in Business Central to help our AR risk, or also exception monitoring agent. Like here, we have an example of continuous scannings of open customers, ledger entry, and sales invoices to flag overdue invoices, provide a summary of AR risk, Like AI can help us, or the agent can help us minimize the risk of AR. They can monitor more the data. They can give us some feedback about the data and the AR ledger. Now, agents are typically a series of small agents doing tasks in a workflow. Like, better not to create a very complicated agent. It's better to create small agents and related to each other, because Microsoft is charging by call or by credit. Like, if you put any agent in production, and this agent has a lot of steps to be done, every step, every call will cost money for the customer, for the user. Like, we need to be careful when we are doing our agents. We need to be very punctual, and we need to test more to be able to assure not to be charged for something not needed. The agent design experience, until now, it's not in production. It's still in public preview and sandbox only. It will be launched very soon in the production. This is my environment. My environment, like, if you can see here, I created multiple agents. If you can see here, we have two standard agents. One is the payable agent, and another one is the sales order agent. And what you can create multiple other agents. To create an agent, we can go to create agent. In the settings, we can activate the agent, give a language and region for the agent. The same way we are creating when we are doing or creating a user. Like, when we create a user, when you go to the setting, you will be able to see, like, which language, which region. All this information should be on the settings of the user. You need to name the agent. You should put the display name, initials for the agent, and a small description. If we go to the next step, here I built an agent, and I didn't build it from scratch. I told this Copilot, hey, I need to build an agent, and I need this agent to go to all the transaction, all the POs that are fully received, and post the invoice. And here you will see a Copilot gave me exactly how I need to build my agent. Like, here, first, open the purchase order record. Second, go to the line, check the quantity received equal to quantity received. Then the third, verify the record order status equal to release. If all the criteria are done, invoice the purchase order. Like, you will tell me how we need to build this. You can go to Copilot and ask Copilot, explain to Copilot what you need, and Copilot will give you exactly what are the instructions to be done on the agent, and then the system or the agent will work correctly. If you can see here, the agent I created, it's a purchasing agent, and you can see I put all the information here, what they will do or what the agent will do, and you will see on, like, here I have 27 steps the agent did for me. But here we are talking about a purchase order with 1 or 2 lines. If we are talking about a purchase order of 100 lines, and I need the system to go and check the lines and post the invoice, here we are talking about a lot of credits. We will talk on the cost in a little bit and see it together. Let me go and share. Are you still hearing me, or we have a lot of noise in the background? If you help me, Angela, to tell me if it's...
We're good now.
Okay, perfect. People are looking to me. Why I'm so loud? Here you can see I have the agent. I need to create an agent. Here I have a sales validation agent. Let me open this agent a little bit. Give me a couple of seconds. Like here, this is the sales validation. This is an agent built by Microsoft. And what we can do, we can open the instruction of the agent. Like here, what's the responsibility? What are the guidelines? What are the instruction? And I see here if else. And you see, it's not a development tool here. We are talking to the agent. We are putting the guidelines. We are putting the steps. What I did, I took a copy of all this. I put it on Copilot and told Copilot, can you build an agent for me using the same structure as I have here? Then Copilot built it to me. Once Copilot built it for me, I will go again, create an agent, and in the agent, I will create an agent from scratch. Here, like I have like purchase agent. I can put whatever I want, post received orders. Now I can go to language, put what are the languages I need the agent to work with, or what is the default language I need the system or the agent to work. The most important, as I told you before, the agent is a user. We need to give them security. We need to give them permission set. We need to give them role. Like here, we need to add the agent or agent access control. And here I can put multiple lines if in case needed. If you go to the right, you will see I have a profile and I have permission. Here I can put which permission set is linked to this agent. Like if it's a purchase agent, I don't want the purchase agent to have access to any sales or financial tables. I can give a permission to access the purchasing side of Business Central. The same for the profile. I can link the agent to a profile. Now, this is the most important here is edit instruction. In the edit instruction, you will see it's empty. Here you need to describe your agent, put all the information of the agent, and then run the agent or let the agent run. Here I did a small an example. Now I can take, for example, this instruction here. First, open statistics. Second, verify and record. Third, fourth, and if shipping advice is complete. Like here, we built an agent, and we can take this agent and put it in my. Let me take it as is. Copy it. Put it here, and now the agent has all the information needed. But the most important is to test the agent. When I need to activate the agent, I will activate it from here. Sorry, I have to put a permission. Now the agent has been created, and the agent is purchase invoice, for example. Now you can run the agent to be able to test the agent. If you run the agent, you can put a test here, and you can add a message like the test passed. Once done, you can click on OK. Let me. Now I run the agent, and you see the agent is running. Here I have the task. Something went wrong. Let me go and like refresh here. I have the things running in the background, and I can refresh it to see what's going on. It's still running, and I can add new messages in case needed. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. On the PowerPoint, everybody is asking me or asking Microsoft how much will cost me to build an agent. An agent, it can be like, until now, we have multiple options, estimated by usage, consumption based by billing via Copilot credit, or monthly cost equal base licensing plus, 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 plus. But the issue here, we don't have yet any web application to know exactly how much will cost us, or how much we spend, like at the middle of the month, how much we spend. This is something, I was on in a conference, and Microsoft was in the session, and I asked them, when do you think? The answer is soon we will be able to have more information about the cost, about how much we spend on the agent side. To be able to run your agent, you need an active Azure billing profile. Your Power Platform and Business Center environment must be on the same type and reside in the same region. Azure Portal configuration, you must create a resource group. Power Platform Admin Center, create a new billing plan, and environment linking. Finally, link your Power Platform environment to your Business Center environment in the Business Center Admin Center. A small example about like how the agent can work, and like for 20 users, 5 days, 22 working days a month, we are talking about 2,200 runs a month. If we are talking about automated agent, but the the autonomous agent will be running like every 15 minutes. It will check 96 check per day. It's not only like 5 times a day. It will spend 2,880 runs a month, and probably it will be doing more job. You'll tell me, yeah, it will replace users. It's not. It cannot be. It should be always monitored until now. We cannot keep the agent do all the transaction on our behalf. We should always keep an eye on it. The agent can like read email, query Business Central, analyze invoice, draft response. If you go more complex, like if here we are talking about like for run, like it's like 40 cents probably. It's based on how you need to pay. Is it pay as you go or what? Like here, if we go into more complex, and the agent will go to multiple lines, and on every line it will check what's going on, then here you will be charged more on each run. I need to thank you for your time today. Hopefully you knew something new, you learned something new on the agent side in Business Central. If you have any question, I will be very happy to get your questions and try to answer them.
Wow, thanks, Claude. You guys feel free to take yourself off of mute and talk back to us, ask questions.
Anybody has any question for me or for Shannon?
All right, well, we will make this presentation available shortly after this meeting. It'll be posted in the meeting website on Learners. We'll also email it out, and it'll be available on the Dynamic Communities YouTube page. And it also, actually, Carol, we have a question. Sorry about that. Claude, do we know the new agents that Microsoft is building into the next version?
Not yet. For now, we have 2 native agent and 1 built If we go to Business Central, you will see them up. We don't know yet if they are building agent or they added this functionality to let people build their agent. Like as we saw, we build our agent based on our requirements. Like I had a customer last week who asked me to help build an agent to read an email, and for every email is a support email. If we have in the description support ticket, automatically it will create into Business Central a user task, and the user task, for example, is assigned to someone. You can build your agent. I really don't know if Microsoft is planning to build more standard agent in Business Central.
So, Carol, does that help answer your question? Awesome. She said yes. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we'll make this available online afterwards. We'll also hang out for a minute if you want to stay on and ask a question. Without otherwise, everybody have a good afternoon and a great weekend, month until next time in July. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.